Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Listen, today is a twofer. Two shows for the price of one. Anyway, I got a show. This show is going to end, and another show is going to start. And it's important, probably, you watch both to get a sense of what's really going on, with the system. Because the second part is a show I recorded for my other channel, the Delta Report. Now, listen. Just enter the Delta Report into YouTube, or I can put a link in the description. And I carry a lot of shows about cryptocurrency over there. That's my cryptocurrency channel. But let's not forget gold and silver. Gold and silver is going to do equally well in this coming crisis. And this is a monetary crisis. This is going to be a dollar crisis. And it's going to take most of your friends and neighbors by surprise. They're not going to see it coming. They don't see it coming. They read the newspaper headlines, said the economy's never been better. Stock market's up. They're not in tune with what's really going on. They got all their savings in the bank in dollars. They don't know that a crisis is actually coming that's going to cost them and cost them big. The role of gold and silver is to preserve your wealth. It's to preserve your wealth against inflation and the effects of inflation. Now, over at a site called Shadow Stats, they got your real inflation numbers over there, guys. John Williams over at Shadow Stats got your real inflation numbers. And believe me, it's not under 2%. It's more like 5 or 6%. This is what your cost. And you guys know it. You guys know it. You got to go to the grocery store, for crying out loud. You got to go and buy your groceries, and you see these prices increasing by 5 or 6% a year at least, more. So you guys know it. They're cheating on the inflation numbers. They're using certain techniques. They don't count certain items, and other items they do count are things like maybe things that the prices even went down on because of cheap labor someplace else in the world. Or they shrink items. Like, say you buy a candy bar. Your candy bars used to weigh twice as much as they do now. They shrink the size of the item, and then on the inflation numbers, they can say, well, candy bars cost the same. Yeah, they cost the same, but they're only half as big. They're doing things like that, little tricks so they can, anyway. Let's get the chart started right here and take a look at what's going on. You know what? This article from The Atlantic. Trump's trade war was futile. The president's clash with Beijing accomplished little and bodes ill for the growing conservative movement and to confront the world's second superpower. President Donald Trump promised yesterday that peace is at hand in the trade war upon China. We have agreed to a very large phase 1 deal with China, he tweeted. They have agreed to many structural changes and massive purchases of agricultural products, energy, manufacturing goods, plus much more. Beijing also announced that the two sides had reached an agreement. Well, this is more like capitulation. And I'm going to tell you what, the damage has already been done to the world economy, even though they capitulated. But this is going to make the stock market go up. You watch the next show, which I encourage you guys to watch it. It's going to show how the Fed is reaching the end game right now. It's going to show that. It's also going to show how money is going to start to be transferred. Wealth is going to start, actually not money, but wealth is going to start to be transferred over into gold, silver, and cryptocurrencies in the very near future. So, this capitulation, the damage has already been done to the world economy and to the Chinese economy. Chinese economy is going to go down quicker than a stone sinking in the water, guys. So, they got some sort of a trade deal through. I mean, come on. This is them not wanting the stock market to roll over. They were sensing, they knew that if they kept this going any longer, that the stock market was going to roll over and fall. So what are they doing? Anything they have to do now at this point to support this stock market. And to me, the stock market's become everything. And to most people out there, who your friends, your neighbors, the stock market is what they see on the headlines. And they're like, everything's okay, the stock market's going up. Look, I read a newspaper article, said the world economy's in great shape right now, Oh, yeah, we did have a yield curve, but that's meaningless. We're in a new paradigm right now. This is a paradigm shift unlike any ever before. The stock market's going to keep going up forever. That's what they said in 1929, just before the great stock market crash. The higher they push this stock market, the more pressure it is, the more overbought it is, the more it's going to collapse. But if they go into a hyperinflation, then they can take the stock market up to dizzying heights. And yeah, the general economy, though, could be flatlining, could be totally dying, and the stock market's still going up in a hyperinflation. So, anyway, without further ado, here is the second show. And remember, tune into my other channel, the Delta Report. Great news on cryptocurrencies there. I think we're getting ready for a massive increase in the price of cryptocurrencies going into 2020. And so if you guys have been sitting on the fence, wondering about cryptocurrency, saying, well, I see cryptocurrencies and gold and silver as being friends. I see they go together hand in hand, because they're both a way out of the dollar. The dollar is going to slide down the hill and be gone, and ultimately, that's the ultimate conclusion for this. And, gold, silver, and cryptocurrencies, I'm like this idea. This is my idea, Now, this is not financial advice or anything like that, but get your real physical silver and gold put away in your portfolio. This is just my idea, of what would be a good idea. And then after you get your gold, silver put away, then you can dabble in cryptocurrencies, but start slow. Don't rush right in there and buy a whole big bunch of Bitcoins and you don't know how to use the darn thing, and you send them to an address, and you get one letter wrong on the address, and you send them off into infinity, and they're gone forever. I mean, if you don't know how the technology works, you can do that. Unlike real physical gold and silver you hold in your hand, that's more old-fashioned tech, and it's not even tech, it's like, there it is, it's in your hand. I mean, you can't make a mistake. But you can make a mistake with cryptocurrencies. It can cost you a lot of money. One little error if you don't know what you're doing, So listen, without further ado, here's the second show. And remember, give me a thumbs up, guys. Those thumbs up means a lot. Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Listen, I'm glad to have you guys here. Now, you know what? The Fed is playing a very dangerous game. They are climbing what I call the hill of impossibility. We got the Fed, and they got a little car. Actually, it's a paddy wagon. Do you guys know what a paddy wagon is? It's you ever heard of a paddy wagon? It's a wagon that the police have, that they carry people off to incarcerate them. This is what they call a paddy wagon, and we're all in the back of the Fed's paddy wagon, little paddy wagon, and they're driving down this road that's getting steeper and steeper and going up a hill. Now, it's going up what I call a hockey stick hill, because it's shaped like a hockey stick. It curves and then it goes almost straight up into the sky. Well, right now, what they've been doing is they've been driving along with us and they've been shifting down First they're in fourth gear, right? And the hills get a little bit steeper. Then they're in third gear. The hills get a little bit steeper. Right now they're in second gear, and they're still chugging along. Soon they're going to be in first gear, and they're going to be going slower and slower. And then in the end, what happens when they get to the vertical part? Well, vehicles just aren't designed to climb a vertical hill. So we're in for a mess. The Fed has this hill of impossibility. And what's that all about? Well, debt is making the same shape maneuver, world debt. And, you know, they've been running the entire system of the entire world now for the last, ever since the financial system died. In 2008, the world's financial system came to an end, as we know it. And they've been running now, all this time, the whole world has been running on debt. Building up exponential amounts of debt, enormous amounts of debt. It's a debt burden that the world can't handle. But now we've reached this inflection point where they either go in one of two directions. Very soon, in our very near future, they're going to have to go in one of two directions. One direction is to try to some way do a reset, cancel out the debt, or people talk about debt jubilees. All of that leads to chaos. You cannot renege on the debt. You cannot say, okay, because as soon as you do, all of the bonds everywhere, these negative yielding bonds suddenly become, you've just reneged on everything. You got to keep going. You got to keep going forward with this. If you want a soft landing, if you don't want the whole system just to basically collapse upon itself, you got to keep moving forward up this hill. Because now, remember the hill of this hill of impossibility? Once this little car that we're in, or paddy wagon that we're in, gets up to a certain point of incline on the hill, what happens if they try to stop the car? And it starts to slide backwards. Well, they got to keep it in gear. They got to keep pushing forward. And they're going to have to rev that engine up. They're going to have to try to climb the hill. But why I call it the hill of impossibility is the further they go into this, the more impossible it gets and the more exaggerated measures that the Federal Reserve is going to have to imply. New ideas to distribute money to the population is the only way forward. Going backwards on this, or trying to put the truck in reverse to come back down the hill, is going to be a total catastrophe at this point, because they've taken us up this steep incline so far now at this point that there is no going back. Going back is utter disaster. Back in 2008, when all this started, they could have went backwards. It would have been a disaster. Even then. And this is what they talk about when they say, oh, we were 2 hours from financial ruin. Because if we hadn't have injected this money into the system, in just 2 or 3 hours, the system would have melted down back in 2008. Well, that was at a point of incline on the hill where if we had done that, we would have suffered huge consequences, and they avoided these consequences. Now we're like 11 years further along, up the incline of this hill, and now there is no going back without complete and utter disaster. I want to tell you what it looked like. I'm going to explain to you what it would look like if they tried to go backwards down this hill. Of course, the analogy of trying to go back down a steep hill backwards. If you're in a certain incline, if you're climbing mountains. You guys ever been in the mountains and you're trying to climb a mountain? Generally, if you try to go backwards, you guys watch these videos? Have you seen these videos of these guys that are trying to climb these steep hills with these Jeeps and stuff? Once in a while, a guy will make it all the way to the top. They climb the hill of impossibility. I've seen it on YouTube. It's amazing. They and they just roar at it, and they keep going up and up and up and up, almost vertical. Once in a while, a guy just doesn't make it or whatever, and what happens when he goes backwards? Generally, his vehicle twists sideways, and it flips a few times and goes head over heels. lucky for these guys, they have a roll cage inside there. But us in the paddy wagon here, we got no roll cage, guys. We got no roll cage. So if the Fed goes up this hill of impossibility to try to go backwards, and we flip and roll and everything else, we're in the back there and we're unsecured. We're just going to be banging around inside that. Imagine the vehicle flipping and flipping and flipping, and us in back. Ain't gonna be fun, guys. So, using this illustration, this is what would happen if the world's central banks decide to try to go backwards and decide to not pay in. Of course, they're going to pay into the system. Of course, they're going to keep this thing going because there's no way out now at this point. So, what happens if they keep this thing going? Well, this is what I'm going to explain to you guys what happens. What happens is they're going to have to print, and they're going to have to find novel, new inventive ways of putting money out there into the system. But when they do that, this kills the purchasing power of the fiat currencies. And this is the only direction that they can go for any sort of soft landing in this at all. But that soft landing is really not a soft landing because it's a slow destruction of the fiat currencies. Guess what, guys? This is what cryptocurrency was made for. This is what cryptocurrency is going to take advantage of in the very near future. We're right at the precipice of this happening. We're right at the point of that hill where the Fed is trying to climb, where it's going to get really steep, really, really fast. And this is what's going to create them to make these inventive new ways of getting money out there. We've seen the first one. You've already seen the first one. It's called the repo market. They're pumping money into the system right now to try to stave off this. It's just going to get bigger and bigger, and it's going to require more and more effort and more money, inventive ways of getting it into the hands of the public soon. Like, up till now, they've been pumping it into Wall Street, hoping it'll filter down. But this is just making these fat cats richer and richer and richer. A time's coming in the very near future where we're going to go into modern monetary theory. This is the last step. This is what's going to start to hyperinflate the currencies. But the lead-in phase of this hyperinflation is a slow process. And this is your soft landing, is this slow process in the lead-in. Hopefully that lead-in period, which we call the acceleration phase, which is the lead-in period to hyperinflation. Hopefully it lasts a long time and it's not quick. Because if it's quick, we're still going to have a hard landing. So the Fed is in control over this. They're going to try to go into this helicopter money and this modern monetary theory rather slowly. They're going to try to step their way in as slow as they can without letting the system collapse. We're seeing the effects in the stock market. They've got the accelerator, the pedal down to the floor on the stock market. Just saw Donald Trump. What did he do? Very worried he was. The stock market is getting ready to fall off because of this trade tensions. He capitulated to the Chinese. Just now, he just did it. He's backed off. December 15th was supposed to be a whole new round of tariffs. Now, that's gone. They're going to, he's capitulating to the Chinese. Oh, the Chinese must just love that. Because it means that, well, it's going to support the stock market in the upcoming weeks. It means we're not going to have a crash leading into Christmas or early into the new year, probably. The stock market's going to continue to go up. But you know, the higher it goes up, the more pressure it gets on it to fall. So, the Fed, as they keep this pressure going on the stock market to keep pushing it up higher, and there's nowhere else they can go. This is all part of climbing this hill of impossibility, guys. You get this stock market higher and higher, the more it wants to fall off, and fall off fast. Now the stock market is traded with computer algorithms. And as the stock market gets more and more overpriced, the more it wants to fall. And it can fall so fast, it can fall at lightning speed. People think they can get out in time. You can't. Not with these computer trading algorithms running the show. They're called bots. And they trade on lightning. News can come in of something that happens. They get the news ahead of you, ahead of the mainstream media even, and their bots already traded on that news. How can you get ahead of them? How can you get out ahead of them? You can't. Right? So if the stock market takes a huge collapse very quickly, and they'll close it. They'll close it. You know what they'll do? They'll come rushing in with liquidity. Then they'll open it again and it'll go up. So we see these huge swings in the stock market. We might see a huge swing down, then a stop will go in, and then we'll see a huge swing up. We're going to see this in the future. But believe me, they've got the back of the system now at this point. Now they're open with these things. They come out and told us they're going to use the plunge protection team. And the mainstream media told us this. Very trying times. But remember something, folks. Cryptocurrency is not part of the... They're trying to control it. I know they're trying to control the price of cryptocurrency. But ultimately, that's going to fail. Just like in 1929, when the stock market crashed, they come in and tried to control it. They actually put, for those times, they put amazing amounts of money in to try to control the crash of the stock market. Failed. Ultimately, markets will find fair market value. Bitcoin will find fair market value. And if we examine the fundamentals, we can see that this whole thing that's coming with climbing the hill of impossibility is going to be a driver behind the cryptocurrencies ultimately. And it's also going to drive gold and silver. But I think that there's a time coming in the very near future where you're not going to be able to get gold and silver. The real gold and silver. It's going to disappear. Not going to be able to buy it unless you want to pay a premium that doesn't even make sense. A 10,000% premium or something like that. And the people that hold it, they're not going to be selling it because it's going to be going up and up and up in price. The only thing you're going to be able to buy is a derivative of gold and silver. So we're entering some very trying times. And I cannot guarantee to you guys, because we're in this paddy wagon, I can't guarantee to you guys that this is going to end. Remember, you got no seatbelts in the back of the paddy wagon. And I'm sorry, but I can't guarantee that this is not going to end in catastrophe for this is a crazy thing that they're doing, trying to climb the hill of impossibility. And the further we go, they got no choice. They got us in the back of a paddy wagon. What are we going to do? We're going to keep going forward. And it's going to get more and more dangerous. And things are going to happen faster and faster and faster as we roll ahead on this hill and get into a steeper and steeper incline. And it's going exponential now at this point. Look, we should have took our medicine back in 2008. We should have let it collapse. Why didn't we let it collapse when we could? It would have ended disastrously. An awful lot of people would have lost their jobs. Banks would have went under. They deserve to go under. They deserve it. Why didn't we let it go down? Why didn't we let it go down? Because now we're facing... there's so many people out there right now who, honest to gosh, think everything's normal and fine. They do not see this situation that the Fed's in right now. They don't even know about what's going on in the repo market. They don't know that the system's already started to have uh, a monkey wrench been dropped into the gears of the system, and the Fed's desperate right now. They don't know that actually this whole thing is in a panic mode. They don't know any of this. They're just out having their Merry Christmas today, buying their gifts, and they're completely oblivious to the problems. They might have read a newspaper article that says the economy's never been greater. Oh my gosh, guys. You guys watching my channels, something's up. You probably watch several of the other channels that are carrying similar stories to mine that are explaining to you guys that something big is coming this way. Thank you guys for listening. Give me a thumbs up, and we'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.